Okay. Now I want to. We'll come back to some of this loop stuff. It's going to be very important. But now we're going to look at what we usually use loops for, which is we use them for these objects in programming that we refer to as arrays. I remember someone showing me a programming joke about a programmer going to his boss and asking for a raise. Anyway, it was a stupid joke. But in this case, what is an array? It is basically a set of numbers in a list, so to speak. In this case, with square brackets. So I could say I want to declare a variable, my maybe r for array, and I want it to be 1 comma 6 comma 2, and that's my array. I could say console dot log r. What is this thing? The console will tell me it's an array. It's 3 things long, and it's 1, 6, and 2. Well, what if I hit this little arrow to expand it? Well, it shows my 0th item. So the computer indexes, it gives each a sort of number, but it starts counting at 0. So the 0th thing is 1, the first thing is 6, and the second thing is 2, and it's 3 long, and that's how JavaScript sees that. So I have an array. Well, what can we do with these arrays? Well, we can map them and we can do things with the values. So, for instance, I could say for x is equal to 0, for as long as x is less than 3, x plus plus. And now I'm going to make a loop that does 3 things. I'm going to say r0. I'm going to get this. I'm sorry, rx, and I'm going to get, as I go from 0, 1, 2 in this loop, because I start at 0 and I never go past 3. I never reach 3. So I'll go through 0, 1, 2 through this loop, and that's going to be the value of each index. So there's the 0 thing, the 1 thing, and the 2 thing, which are these values. So if I say give me the 0 thing in the list, which I do by putting square brackets after the name of the array, then so if I do this, well, let me do that first. I'm going to comment out all this loop stuff. Let's just say console.log r0. So I'm going to do that. I'll also console.log r, so you can see both of them. We've already got that, so if I save that and refresh it, I get my array with console.log r, and that's my array that I've already seen. But now I get 1 because I said, okay, log the 0th thing in the array, and it gave me the first, the 1. So what if I say console.log r1? I get the 6, and if I put in a 2, I get a 2. So I can grab the individual things just by putting the index after it. Okay, so back to the loop. The loop is going to go from 0, 1, 2, and if I say give me whatever x is, call for that thing, then each time it cycles it's going to grab a different thing. So let's just console.log this. And if I run that, it goes through 0, 1, 2, but it outputs 1, 6, 2 because it's grabbing each item from the list and spitting them out individually. As it loops through, it one by one prints the things that are in the array. So that's sort of what an array kind of is. There's a lot to say about arrays, and there's a lot that you can do with them, but they really go well with these loops because you can cycle through them. Things that arrays are useful for. Let's say you're playing a video game. There's probably many arrays, but in simple games, there's probably at least an array, a single array, for all the things that are in the game, because the computer needs to access all the things that are in the game. It needs to check each one for something, maybe to check to see if it has lost health and is dead. So every, tiny fraction of a second, your video game may be running through a list of things in the game, objects, and checking their health. Is it still alive? Is it still alive? Is it still alive? Running through everything. When it finds that something has too low of health, then it can remove it from the list and then remove it from the game. But knowing what things it should check is usually done by just slipping it into an array, putting it in a list of things to check. So arrays are very common. You use them in pretty much all programs. It may be a list of users, a list of messages. If I say, okay, I want to do a search for websites on Google with sites that include the word cat, well, it's going to give you an array. It's going to give you a list. And you can cycle through each one and look at each one. Those are even more examples. A list of students, a list of your grades, a list of your classes. Everything's like lists. Almost everything is made up in that way. So they're very, very common. So we'll go through more things that you can do with these arrays and more ways that you can cycle through them. So arrays, we just looked at number arrays in this case, but we can have arrays of strings, arrays of responses, and you could make a magic 8-ball program that has responses, and you pick them at random when people quote unquote shake the 8-ball. You could just pick one of these things at random. Anyway, so that's just kind of an introduction to arrays, and we will talk about them some more in the next ones.